Your Property Podcast comes to you with thanks to our friends at Trafalgar Square Finance, leading independent specialists in mortgages and all types of property finance. Whether it's buy-to-let, development or bridging finance, Trafalgar Square can help you organise your funding for your next property project. Exclusively to listeners of Your Property Podcast, Trafalgar Square offer a free one-to-one consultation. So whether you are a portfolio landlord looking to raise funds on your existing portfolio, or if you're just starting out and want to find out if you are eligible for a buy-to-let mortgage, Trafalgar Square Finance can help. It's easy to book with one of their experienced consultants by simply visiting yourpropertynetwork.co.uk/finance. You can find this link in the show notes for more details.
Hello and welcome to Your Property Podcast. Today I am back with Mark Barrett. Hi, Mark.
Hey, Michelle. How's it going?
It's great, thank you. It's we were just saying before we pressed go on the recording, it's been quite a few years since we last connected through a property networking event up in Manchester that we used to go to. And it's been interesting to sort of see your journey through social media and see what you're up to now. And I thought we'd invite you on just to kind of get an idea of what you've been up to and what you can share with our audience. So tell us a bit about yourself and how you got into property.
Great. Yeah. Thank you, Michelle. And it's also been great to see your journey as well. So it was, good times meeting at the property breakfast we used to go to. And some great people we met there. So it's my name is Mark Barrett. I'm based in Warrington in the Northwest. And I started out life in the police force. I didn't know what I wanted to do at school, went to an all boys school, didn't want to stay on to sixth form. So I kind of went in my dad's footsteps and did the police, did that for 6 years and didn't want to do it for the rest of my life. I'd been in plain clothes for 3 years, didn't want to go back into uniform. So decided to go for a change and ended up as a mortgage broker. And I really enjoyed helping people out with mortgages. So I'm a wealth dynamic profile is a tempo. So right. I do like helping people. I like to be in the thick of things. And I got a lot from that. And obviously, as buy-to-let mortgages came out, I'm that old that I was kind of there for when they came out. So I really enjoyed helping landlords build up portfolios. So that was kind of the insight into property investing. And I started myself as an accidental landlord, kind of renting out rooms in a large property that I got with friends. And as they kind of moving out, I started to fill their rooms. So that was kind of how I got started in property. Went to mortgage broking in Spain and did that from 02 to 08. And then when the market crashed, I came back and focused on property then. So
when did the penny drop then? So because there are lots of mortgage brokers out there who don't invest themselves. So when did you kind of switch to, building your own portfolio?
Yeah, I think it was kind of when I came back, I didn't want to go back into mortgage broking. So I decided to, focus on property. I did some large refurbs up in the Lake District. And then as I came back after those, I started to kind of trade property. Yeah. So.
And trade is in just flipping, not holding any?
Flipping mostly.
Was that because was that a conscious decision? Because I know for some people, they don't realize that they can keep them. They just think, oh, okay, I'll flip them, get the chunk of cash, move on to do the next one, but they don't realize actually they could refinance and pull a lot of the money out.
Yeah, no, my part of my profile is kind of the tempo, but it's a deal maker as well. So I am a deal maker and I do enjoy doing property deals. So I kind of did a lot of option deals. So kind of did over 50 option deals, kind of securing properties and then trading them, sometimes adding value. Sometimes keeping.
What year was this then as you were doing the options?
So this was probably from about 2010, something like that.
Right. And how did you get into that? Because it's not something that, it's quite a common strategy now within the property world people talking about purchase options, purchase lease options, but back then people didn't really talk about options. So how did you get that involved in doing them?
There was a guy actually that was out there then called Rick Otten, who's an Australian guy. So he used to kind of like do training. I've always done kind of like invested in my education. And so, yeah, I did some training with Rick, and I found it worked for me.
So for some people, I just want to dig into this because it's really interesting. For a lot of people, when they come across the concept of options, once they get their head around how it works, there's this idea that they're like, you know, hen's teeth or something. They're just really rare to come across. And this idea that, well, how do you market for them? How do you find them? And I remember somebody said to me, out of a percentage of how many deals that you look at, how many do you think are optionable? And I was like, well, it doesn't really work like that. It's all about the conversations that you have. So did you just convert sort of existing leads to options, or did you actually market that strategy directly to the owners?
No, I did. I kind of started out doing leaflets. So I used to do kind of like 10,000 leaflets at a time. And started out, I got the opportunities with those. And it was, you know, problem solving, finding out what somebody's situation was, and then offering different solutions. So a solution might be like a cash buy, quite a lot lower, or it could be kind of like paying more on like an option, and then either then looking to add value, maybe doing a refurb and flip, or sell on to another investor.
That's quite a number of option agreements that you managed to secure there. So did you start to see a trend in what people wanted, or how you phrased certain things within the conversation?
Yeah.
Like, how did you manage to get so many?
It's definitely terminology. Yeah. And having the confidence, I think. And I think the hardest thing is keeping it simple sometimes. So, yeah, I've all kinds of experiences from doing option deals. But what I found is that sometimes you can get, if you get solicitors involved in doing kind of like long option agreements, which could be up to like 10 pages, that can sometimes put people off. And the common thing would be, wow, that's like a lot of information. I'll let my solicitors check it over. And then the solicitor, if they're not experienced in options, they'll be saying, oh, I don't like this, don't do that. So kind of like reverted just to a simple one-page agreement.
Okay. And what did you cut out?
What
did you cut out, and what did you keep?
Just the legal stuff. It just kept it very simple. Probably had like 11 just like sentences on it. And people really just wanted a solution. So they was kind of happy at like, you know, agreeing a price, and that's what they wanted. So I would never like take anybody to court. I never had any issues and things like that. So I wasn't that bothered about kind of protecting myself, because I knew I could help them.
And what was did you have a main strategy for, for the option? Like, what did you do with it in that option period? Did you
mostly
it?
Just sell on. You just get a buyer, normally cash buyers. So yeah, I'd say like agree a price, and then the margin that I make is just the difference between what I agree and what they pay for.
And were there some properties where you didn't need to do any refurbishment? You just sold it on for a profit? And
most of them. Yeah, most of them was just sold it, you know, as it was. And so, I think, go on.
Were they all purchase options or purchase lease options, where the owner got a lease fee, a monthly income?
Yeah, I did some of those, but it was just mostly just a sale. I suppose what you'd probably call it now is like an assisted sale.
Oh, okay, right, yeah.
I've done like installment contracts, delayed completions. I've done like a mix of everything, but the majority I would say would be like an assisted sale.
Oh, okay. So were they pretty much all below market value that you just kind of added a chunk on, or did you add any value in planning gain or anything like that?
Yeah, I've done planning gains, and then also I've done refurbs where I thought it could add value. The most money I've made would be on doing a refurb, spending a bit more time. Sometimes it's just like a quick sell, really.
And do you think that's a strategy that still works today?
Yeah, I think there's opportunities within that. We're starting like a new marketing campaign, so I think there'll be opportunities, that may well work on that basis. Yeah.
And is that targeting people who are in negative equity, or anything in particular, or just generally people?
Not really. I've never really gone for the negative equity market. It's more people that they just want to sell the property, and sometimes the price is not the most important thing.
Yeah, just to say a bit more about that for people who are, the question gets asked a lot, why would someone give you a property below market value? Why don't they just do it themselves? Why don't they just find the cash buyer themselves, right, or put it on the market?
Yeah, I think some people just looking for a solution and they don't have the time. So that might range from, say, had a guy who'd moved in with his girlfriend, so his house was empty, and so it was costing him money every month, and basically the price that he got for the property was as least impossible as the cash flow, because he couldn't really afford to pay that and then contribute to his girlfriend's property. So one of the phrases you're saying about kind of like the terms that I learned and that is kind of like has been really good is when somebody's got a mortgage, basically asking them the question, would they sell it? Would they sell the property for what they owe?
Okay.
And he said, yeah. And that was a lot less than what the value was.
Wow. And then, so you agree the option agreement for that price, and then typically how long would the agreement be for?
That's a good point. So you always need more time than you think, and obviously a lot of things can go wrong. So I always went for as long a period as I could. So the shortest period would typically be 6 months, sometimes 12 months. But then it's using the terms that this is a standard agreement, and I want to complete as quickly as possible, and also relating stories that sometimes the delays has been caused by the vendor, not from me. Yeah.
And when one of the most common questions that vendors ask is, well, how do I know you're going to complete? And they're looking for the certainty. If they've like in that scenario with the guy that moved in with the girlfriend, he's leaking money every month, so time is of the essence there. So if you're saying to him, well, can we have a 12-month agreement, and also I've got the option not to buy it, how do you overcome that objection?
I think it's just having the confidence so that what I used to find is when somebody signs the option agreement, I could see the weight kind of like lifted from them, and it was, the deal had been done at that point, and I've never like not fulfilled one. So I think it's kind of obviously when you start off, you may not have that confidence.
Yeah.
But it's putting across that. But I think if you're doing a good job and you're doing the right things, then that's okay. Yeah.
Okay. So it sounds like the option strategy was quite a key part of, your property journey, and helped you kind of make the progress that you needed to move on to other things. So, so why did you change if it was kind of working really well?
So I could see the change in market from kind of like buy-to-lets to HMOs. This was like 2016.
Yeah.
So I then decided to focus on sourcing properties, converting to HMOs. So I started a company called the HMO Agency in Salford. And the business model was like a portfolio builder for professionals and business owners that were based in typically like London or overseas. and we would source a property, project manage the conversions, and then we did the lettings.
Right, so turnkey.
Yeah.
And did you take on any properties yourself, or were you just managing and doing the turnkey solution for the other
So
people?
that business was just doing for clients. So it was like a portfolio build to clients. So with that, in 2016, I also joined the Property Entrepreneur Board, which was great timing because a lot of things I hadn't done before. So I had done lettings. I'd kind of like self-managed a lot of like lettings before. I'd also worked for the National Landlords Association, so I had like an understanding of that, but it did help to follow a model, and that's what I had from the property entrepreneur. So kind of helped me to scale the business.
Yeah, put all the systems in place, automate it.
Yeah.
And were you not tempted to be buying, presumably you're sourcing properties that are, you know, there's some sort of deal there below market value or whatever it is.
They weren't necessarily below market value. It was just the opportunities to kind of like convert them. So a typical deal would be a 3-bedroom terraced house that we would convert into 5 ensuite bedrooms for young professionals. Sometimes you get, 6 and 7 and 8s, but typically it was a 5-bedroom. Yeah.
It felt like everyone was just doing that at the time.
Yeah.
Especially around the Manchester area, just, there was so much stock that, and so much opportunity there for people to do that. And I suppose for your investors, they didn't want to have the hassle of finding the right property in the right location, doing all of the refurb and then the management as well. So, but did you choose to kind of have any properties in your personal portfolio? Or were you just happy to have that as a business?
So it was like a separate business that, I had like, kind of like buy-to-lets and like conversions and stuff like that. But that business was just focused on that model. And we started in like 2016. It got to like October, and I had five conversions starting. So that's So that's when I started to like grow the team. So I got project manager in place, and then started to recruit a team. Yeah.
And how has it been since then, in terms of you've obviously been on the Property Entrepreneur Board for many years, and what have you kind of learned and implemented that's kind of really stood out for you, that's made the difference in scaling the business and
I think
working on the business rather than in it?
Yeah, I think that's key, is to have the right people in the right seats. So kind of like recruiting the right people, and Wealth Dynamics has been really great for that. So understand it's like a free tool that you can use as part of the recruitment process. As we're sending out different kind of like job roles, they would do the free Genius U test, and then it was only if they had the right profiles we would probably get involved with interviews. So that was really good, having the systems in place to help me kind of like scale the business and then working on it as opposed to in it. Yeah.
And it's interesting now, so your role within the Property Entrepreneur is for a lot, you're seeing a lot of people come through fresh, through just on their journey starting out. So what is interesting about the people coming through? Like, what trends do you see that people's expectations or things that are holding them back versus when you started?
I think when a lot of people join Property Entrepreneur, and there's probably like 150 a year now within the program altogether, so made up of the board, the first year program, and then people that stay on the advanced. A lot of people may join and they might have been on like the PIN Mastermind. Yeah. So they've been on that. They've head down trying to like hit the targets. So creating a lot of chaos, a lot of results, but also chaos. And then they come on looking then to get the systems in place. So you see a lot of people that really like to have a blueprint to be able to follow. But there's been some fantastic stories of people kind of, doing some like great results, building the businesses, some selling it, and some getting involved in like different businesses. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's not just property, it's it's open to people with other types of businesses as
Yeah,
well.
that's right. Yeah. So it's interesting to talk to different people and like the effects it has on their own businesses, which are not property related as well.
Yeah, it must be interesting to see people that, I suppose, I've done the mastermind, and I've done different types of masterminds. I'm on one at the moment that's got nothing to do with property. But it, for people who come onto the property entrepreneur, they have pretty much all of them have done some sort of mastermind program, an extended training support group. They've had that accountability. And so do they adapt better, do you think, than if they hadn't done all of those things?
Yeah, I
It
think
must be
so.
a different caliber, I guess, of entrepreneur.
Yeah, the program has changed, and it's now more about execution. So
Okay.
it is about the kind of like understanding what the blueprints are, but then there's like a big focus, certainly this year, is on like execution. So, which is great as a group. I think that's been really good.
And what does that look like? Because I think it's quite easy for people, to join groups where they are, I want to say, procrastinating, just consuming the information, and there isn't that element and focus. Now, there's plenty of different models out there for training programs. There's the done for you, done with you, and do it yourself, right? So I guess you pay for what level that you're at, but in terms of the execution side, it's I think that's quite a challenging thing to implement. It might be a limiting belief of mine in a program where you've got 50 people. How do you encourage people to execute? How do you build that into the program?
So what tends to happen is that there's like the 4 seasons of the year, then each season, then so you started off kind of like looking at the years gone past, the year gone past, and then looking at kind of like what you want more of, less of, what you want to keep, and then putting together what it is you're trying to achieve, and then you then going through to a strategy day. So everybody's then got to present it in like in groups in the kind of like the programs. We also do that on the board as well, so you're accountable to each other. So each kind of like meeting, there's homework, or there's kind of like there's something that then you need to do that. So it's certainly like upping your game and being responsible to each other. One thing we have on the board is like the one thing. So it's the one thing that you need to achieve by the following month. And a lot of banter with that, a lot of fun, but it's pretty brutal as well. So yeah, things like that, doing your top 10 for the week, reporting that in, it's all been good.
And how do you decide what the one thing is when you've got so many priorities?
I suppose it's like, what is the game changer? And that part of it as well is looking at the game changers for the year, game changers for the quarter and the monthly, and incorporating those. But yeah, it's the thing that you need to do that's going to make a significant difference to your business.
Right. And is there anything you think that holds people back that you can see across different types of people that come through?
A lot of it is overwhelm, and sometimes like on my 7th year now, but sometimes you can't, because of like business, you're busy and stuff like that, you can't do everything. So you just take on board what you can do and you just do your best, which is fine. And then maybe the following year you're in a different position because you've got either more team members in place, or you've got better systems that you then have the capacity, or you're just in a different place to be able to implement more things.
Yeah, I think that's certainly a theme that I see across people who are, they make that jump from just a landlord sort of investing to being an entrepreneur, where you're growing a business and you've got the portfolio, having to manage a team. And it's that what is the book, the E-Myth, where you've got all these different hats on. And for many people, like myself included, I'd never had a corporate background, so I'd never been in management or anything like that. And you're kind of thrown in this world of, first of all, you're just learning everything you can about property and direct to vendor marketing, and then suddenly you're like, oh, okay, I need to learn about business as well. I need to have all these business skills, and that becomes like the most important thing. It's sort of I guess it comes in stages of people's journeys, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So yeah, overwhelming, and just I think that's the important thing about having any accountability group, any support group, especially if you're committed to something for 12 months, where you've got that, that people are going to be checking in with you every month and holding you to account on what you're doing.
Yeah, no, I think it's good. Yeah.
Right. So what are you up to these days, and what's next?
Yeah. So I sold the HMO agency a couple of years ago, and now my focus is on the property brokerage. So that was portfolio building for the clients for the HMO agency, but we've started to get clients coming to us about selling their investment properties. So that's the focus, has been selling, making things easier for people to buy and sell investment properties. So investment property brokers, and that's kind of using my experience as mortgage brokers. I've been involved in over 750 property conveyancing transactions. So there's a lot of things that go wrong in property. And then it's kind of like problem solving those, the mortgage background, the trading background, the HMO legislation. I've probably done over 40 HMO conversions, and then moved on to office conversions. So there's a lot of things that has cropped up, and it's kind of like using that experience to help the selling and the buying of investment properties.
Yeah, it's so much experience there. And so typically you're working with investors who are selling rather than just regular people who have just got the odd one.
Yeah, we do get people that just have got a property to sell. It might be a vacant property. A lot of it to date has been kind of like word of mouth recommendations. We've got a team in place now that's very experienced. We're very into customer service and trying to provide as good as experiences as we can. So we're just scaling up. I've just got a new business partner who's really experienced. He's had large business that he scaled up. He had over 150 engineers working for him, and he sold out to Overseas PLC, and he's now joined the business. He's like a creator, so he's on the opposite side to me as far as wealth dynamic. So we're great partnership, and we're now
full of ideas.
Yeah, we're now scaling that business, which is exciting.
So who's your ideal customer?
So is landlords who either are looking. So we do a few things. We do like a portfolio review. So sometimes I have clients who've got portfolio, not really sure what to do. Should they sell? Which are the ones they would keep? Are they interested in leases? So we can have a look at that as to, we may suggest based on like if you sell it and getting 10 years profit, then that might be a good thing to do. So we'll look at the different properties and then give advice. It's up to them to decide. Sometimes we have like some clients that buy and also sell. So they might be offloading some properties, but then they're changing the spread of the portfolio. So they might be kind of going from HMOs to buy-to-lets and more like, different type strategies. I think flavor recently has been leases. So a lot of people interested in having like long-term leases on the properties as well, which is another offering that we have.
Okay. And so leases with like social housing, for example, charities and local council. That is interesting as that's moving around. And okay, so working with landlords and in particular the portfolio then. So for a lot of people I've spoken to who want to sell their portfolio, they feel stuck because of their capital gains. And what do you say to them if let's say they've got 10 properties, like ideally they'd just like to sell them all in the same year this year, but they have the implications do you suggest like a solution where they can structure the sale over a number of years with some option agreements, or?
Yeah. So yeah, looking at it and go through different scenarios. So it may well be that some are done on options, sell certain ones now. It could be kind of, we also offer to cash buy ourselves, so we may be interested in buying those. So it's a mix really, but it's looking at the different scenarios and putting together a plan. Yeah.
Okay. So, and then potentially refinancing some as well, and
yeah,
lots of options. So I'm sure it's really valuable to have yourself on board, because you've got all of these creative solutions that not many brokers will even be aware of.
Yeah, I love it. I do love it, and I like helping people. I like being creative, so I'm certainly in my flow. Yeah.
Great. Well, yeah. So is the plan to just carry on as you are now? You're obviously looking to scale the business and then eventually sell it, or is that what you plan to hold on?
No plans to sell this. Do more like commercial conversions as well. Okay. So I've started to do those as opposed to HMOs. So enjoying doing those, and then looking at development opportunities as well. And I've also started on the Wednesday, just one day a week, I do coaching as well. So that's called the Financial Fortress, and that's aimed at professionals, business owners that either unclear on the strategy or kind of like want to go to the next level. So it's just kind of like helping them put a plan together and implement that.
All right. Well, it sounds like, just you'd be bringing a wealth of experience to that as well. So, yeah, it's a great opportunity for anyone looking to just kind of get, have a review of where they're at and their business and how they can improve and possibly go to the next level. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's probably a good place to wrap up. So we'll share all of the links in the show notes for the property entrepreneur that you're involved with, and obviously your mortgage broker company there, and your coaching. So if anyone wants to follow up with you, then the links will be in the show notes.
All right, great. Yeah, thanks very much indeed, Michelle. Great to see you again, and hope to see you soon.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. And for anyone who is not yet a subscriber to the magazine, please click the link in the show notes for your free 30-day trial. And see you next time, guys.